In this Red Gaming Tech video, we are here to once again discuss the topic of the Xbox Scorpio. With E3 fast approaching, we're of course very much eagerly awaiting the reveal of the console. Now, of course, we do know the specifications of the machine. If you missed any of our videos on that, I do suggest you go check them out. Paul did a rather good job, if I do say so myself. But we don't know what it looks like, the price, release dates, or obviously the games, or anything like that. Now, given that it is going to be revealed before too long, there's undoubtedly a lot of conversation and discussion and so on, and we've had some recent comments from Mike Ybarra once again stressing that Microsoft are not making developers go one way or the other with the use of the technology. They are free to use the extra horsepower for whatever they wish, it seems. And he said on Twitter, quote, "Developers are free to choose how they use the power of Project Scorpio for games. We have no requirements limiting frame rates or fidelity." Now, this raised an interesting concern from another Twitter user who asked, quote, "But there is an FPS parity between Xbox One and Scorpio in multiplayer, which means a 2013 console is holding a 2017 console back." And Mike replied, "No, there isn't. This is up to the developer to choose for their games of what they want to do." So basically, there's nothing to worry about, even when it comes to multiplayer. Even if a multiplayer game is on both Scorpio and Xbox One, which of course it will be, given that's what Microsoft have stressed they're going to be doing, then we're not going to have to worry about the limited horsepower of the Xbox One version, perhaps limiting the frame rate of the much more powerful Scorpio, which is definitely a nice thing to hear. And interestingly enough, this was further expanded upon by the general manager of Microsoft Studios by the name of Shannon Loftus, who said, quote, "Developer choice, but as a developer I would bet no one chooses different frame rates for MP games ever." Now obviously this prompted a lot of questions and a bit of confusion, but she later clarified the remark by saying, quote, "Since I confuse folks as a dev, we all use power for what matters. This is typically frames and resolution. Also AI game systems like economy, etc. Games have a goal to deliver as much of all as possible all of the time. Most will not limit frame rates, except in very specific situations. In co-op, general PvP, PvE, mixed frame rates are no issue. In competitive, tourney qualifier, e.g. situations, devs will try to ensure matches have equal frames." Sorry for the confusion. Now obviously this does lead to some interesting concerns as to, will we see a case of Xbox Scorpio people playing against Xbox One people who may have different frame rates. The Scorpio might be at 60, the One might be at 30. You know, we've seen recently with Destiny 2, that's not going to be 60 FPS on console due to the Pro not having enough power. Will it be on the Scorpio? We just don't know, but let's assume for a second that it's 30 on the Xbox One, as we know it will be. It's going to be on consoles, it's going to be locked on consoles, should I say, and 60 on the Scorpio. You could argue that the Scorpio player has an advantage over the One player because, well, they have extra frames, they've got smoother performance, and, you know, while that doesn't make up for a lack in skill, it definitely is an advantage. So this is definitely going to be an interesting concern for multiplayer specifically, but obviously there are a lot of concerns with the fact that, obviously, a game that's out on Scorpio is going to be out on Xbox One, because that's what Microsoft wants to do. Although this might as well be a new console in terms of the jump in power, it is essentially another Xbox One with, you know, extra juice, given that, you know, it has to also be able to run Xbox One games, blah, 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 blah. We've said the same point 50 times, you get where I'm going with this. So there are definitely concerns that developers might not be able to use the power for the Scorpio as they want, because they have to think, oh, this has to run on the Xbox One as well. But I would actually just argue that, look, we already have the case of a lot of developers, not every developer, but most developers are developing their game for PC a lot these days. So you could argue, well, okay, they're already developing a super powerful, shiny, goes up to 144 Hz, whatever game that will not run on the Xbox One anyway, because it's going to be on the PC. So surely that version, perhaps, you know, running at 1080 or 4K or whatever it happens to be, and not 144 Hz, obviously, why would not just take that version and put that on the Scorpio, and the normal Xbox One version would have been what it would have been anyway? And that's definitely a valid comment, I think, at least. Obviously, this is purely from a layman's perspective. I'm not a developer by any means. I've never made a game in my life, never will. Played a lot of them, though. You know, I know you're thinking, yeah, I hope so, given that you run a channel, but you get my point. I'm rambling a little bit. My point is, I think it is a concern, but I don't think it's a huge concern, given that, you know, the different architecture means that it's easier just to put the PC version on the Scorpio, and the Xbox One version is like, you know, a stripped down, whatever, less fancy 30 FPS lock version of that game, essentially. Obviously, it depends on the developer. Some developers go console first, then PC. Some go PC, then console. Obviously, if you go PC, then console, then this isn't a huge issue. But we may see some cases of developers being a bit limited, but maybe we won't. Time will only tell. Of course, it is going to be a reveal at E3. We do know that for certain. It's definitely going to be an interesting time to see exactly the reception, the games that come out for it, and the performance that we see versus the one, and of course the graphics and so on. So, let the discussion commence. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.